Okay, I'm not sure how long this is supposed to last, but I'm just going to start reading. And whenever you look bored, I'll stop. Alright, this is from Transmission 12. I'm tripping right now. We're all tripping. After a full day of loitering and bumming change at the mall, 10 or 15 are headed to this girl Chris's house. Her parents are out of town and her older brother is spending the night at his girlfriend's. Lana is acting weird and distant. I can't tell if this is because she is tripping because I am tripping, or as she claims, because she is feeding off the energy of all the others who are on LSD like we are. The acid is really fucking good. 2 tabs in, I can already tell the acid is really fucking good. Chris has a massive backyard filled with trees and life. Everyone is laughing, making their way from one person to another, asking how they are doing, if they saw this or that amazing thing. Lana is about 200 yards out in the darkness, literally hugging a tree. That doesn't seem cliche to me. She's completely and utterly earnest. She looks like a little woodland sprite overcome by the beauty of nature. All of us out here are woodland sprites. We are running around in the grass and breathing in the crisp air. This one guy, Dylan, he's some kind of surfer import from California. He has captured the interests of everyone with his radical beliefs on life. He shows a few of us how good it feels to punch tree trunks. Does it a couple of times, hard, brings his scraped knuckles into the light to show us the release. His knuckles already appear bruised, but somehow beautiful. I decide against trying it, though. I'm very cautious and opposed to pain unless I'm mentally destitute and without hope. I approach Lana, but she's in the middle of one of her little episodes and won't make eye contact or even acknowledge my existence. She's so beautiful and abused. My Lana communicating with a tree. All I want is for her to understand that I understand her. She is hurting. This is why, as Splinter said so basely, quote, she's blown everyone in the food court. But she only did that because she wanted to give them a pleasure that she can't achieve herself. Not a physical pleasure necessarily, but a transcendent one. The pleasure people reach only by being selfless and self-sacrificing. I find her more beautiful because she's blown everybody in the food court. It makes me want to be with her more. I want to take care of Lana. I want to reach out to her and have her take me in, fold her under her wing as I fold her under mine. Lana, my beautiful Lana. I am doomed to a lifetime of yearning. I will never know love or the way life, or life the way it is meant to be lived. I will never know true fulfillment, only unquenchable desire. Why is it that every time I take acid I have to realize these things? I can't have fun without feeling guilty for being alive, for leaving my brother at Victor's mercy. I have abandoned those in need in order to pursue fun in a fucking field. I am not the type that loves, I am the type that fucks. I have intentionally burned myself with cigarette lighters, put the hot metal to my arm, and seared in agony as my flesh lit up in heat and pressure, and I could feel myself leaving this hellish place, could feel myself transcending the garden. They know I don't really belong here with any of them. I am outside of their realm. These people, these kids here, they will go back home to their cul-de-sacs and tell their parents to fuck off and still make it to college in time for initiation to this fraternity or that sorority. We were crowded around this television set watching cartoons, and then after that is done, even more pathetically than the last thing, we were watching 2 guys play fucking video games, laughing. We were watching somebody else play video games. They're in control of our every thought and emotion. We're just passing through, merely biding our time until our lives slip through our gnarled old fingers, these self-inflicted scars disappearing in the sands with our souls, because in the end we were never really here in the first place. We were never here. We are a blip, a massive energy dissipated in a matter of moments, a flash in the pan, a twinkle of the eye, a prehistory lost in the passing of millennia, the minutiae of nothingness, a blink, an afterthought, a shallow stream evaporated in the first light of day. We are the misunderstood. We are the unclassified, the oversimplified, the target market, the failing demographic. We are all already dead. The untalented, the ugly, the wasted, the underused, making way for the new. We are the bleeding. We are the profusely complaining, the overfed. We are the holes, the empty, the vacant, carved out and hollow, blankly staring, echoes, not ourselves, not anyone. Lana approaches me at around 3 in the morning. She's visibly tired. My eyes feel wide as plates. I ask her again if she wants to trip because she looks tired. She says no. I tell myself I've already fucked this whole thing up with her. But then she says she knows that I love her and she loves me too. She tells me that this is why she's never given me a blowjob. I tell her, I never wanted a blowjob, but I probably would have taken one if you'd offered because you were so fucking beautiful and fragile. Did you not want to give me one because I'm ugly, I ask? And she says, that had nothing to do with it. Not at all. You're beautiful. I am? Yes, you are. And it had nothing to do with anything aside from the fact that I knew you didn't want that from me, she says. I knew you'd never approach me like that, and just from that alone, that respect for me, I knew you were different. I was, I say? You are, she says. Well, then why am I always so fucking broken? Why am I always shattered from the inside out trying to hold this goddamn thing together by the nails? Let's walk outside, she says. We leave everyone to their video game watching. Lana takes my hand and we walk to the tree she had embraced for a good hour earlier in the night. She places my hand on it and asks me what I feel. Close your eyes, she says. Tell me what you feel. I tell her I feel a tree. She says that's all you have to feel is a tree. Because that's all it is. It's just a tree, Luke. It's just a fucking tree. My eyes are still closed and I'm crying and realizing that she is right. All it is a goddamn tree. She finds my lips and we kiss and then sleep under that tree. And when I wake, she is still there with me, my arm curled around her shoulders, her face pressed to my chest, the sun blinding me. So I guess I'm supposed to take questions. How does it go?
That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes? All right, good. Questions? Comments? Put-downs?
Go ahead.
What?
I was just curious about the publishing process.
In general?
Well, it says in the newspaper that you got picked up off of MySpace. Is that true?
Yeah, that's how I was contacted, is through MySpace. And that's how I publicized the book, in order to, I guess, show publishers that, I guess, it had merit, that people were willing to read it, is through MySpace. And then, yeah, I was emailed by an editor at Harper, and that's it.
Was it difficult before that? Had you tried to get a lot of publishers to take notice? Had you sent out a lot of other offerings? Or was this just sort of kismet perfect?
Well, you get big publishers especially have, gatekeepers, and those are agents, and so you really cannot approach a publisher directly if you're an author. You have to go through an agent. So beforehand, everyone I had tried to approach was an agent, and they were in the same boat as the publishers. So actually, when I was approached by the editor at Harper, I actually, excuse me, I had to run out and find an agent because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And they lowballed the shit out of me as far as an advance and everything like that. And I immediately went and found an agent who turned out to be incredible. And, she negotiated it for me.
It seems like a big turning point in the book, and probably for you personally, was when your brother came and picked you up from the rehabilitation center and passed some drugs to you at the I guess it was an IHOP or something like that. And you went to the bathroom, almost did it, and then chose not to. Was that a big turning point in your life, and how has it been since then for you in regards to that? That's not too personal a question.
Well, you're talking about the second book. I mean, that is right at the end. That's, I guess, a preview of the second book.
I guess I didn't go.
Yeah, but no problem. No, again, this book and the, I guess you can call it a sequel, it does have the same characters, are novels. They are based in large part on what has actually happened in my life, but that specific incident did not happen.
Okay.
So I can't really say that it was a turning point or anything like that,
I guess there's always the last time that you say no more.
Yeah, of course. There's always a last time, and to be honest with you, I really don't remember what the last time was, because whenever you say this is the last time, and I think I said this in the book, that's never the last time. The last time always just ends up being some kind of toss-off, and then that was the last time.
All right.
Thanks.
Recently became like the best thing I read about something paper and haven't yet had an opportunity for that. But can you comment a bit about American made of drugs like labels and that loss for a period of time? What that was like?
Well, when I lived in Mableton, that's where I went to high school. I wasn't an addict at that point, at least not a heroin addict. I did live in Marietta and Smyrna and that area whenever, at some point when I was a drug addict, a heroin addict. What do you want to know? Exactly what it was like to drive from there, down there? Well, it was a pain in the ass because it was almost an hour away. I mean, you had to come up with money not just for the drugs, but also for gas to get the fuck down there. What now? No, definitely. That's not just limited to me. Anyone who's a serious addict with a healthy habit's going to get rid of everything they own. It's a sad state of affairs.
Again, it may be in the book, but
yeah, and I understand you haven't read it. I don't want to come across as didn't read the fucking book. I'm sorry.
How was it arrested? What were you arrested?
Amazingly, I've never been arrested. And that's a blessing, and I realize that it is, because, I'd probably still be in prison now. Because of the fucked up drug laws, I'll say that very loud. I do not think addicts should be imprisoned. If you do something like, hold somebody up or something, then that's a different story. But in general, I don't think you should be put in jail for being an addict. But, how did it end? You just have to get to a point where you realize I'm going to die doing this, or I'm going to find some way to live. And it has to come down to that. When I was in rehab, I was, 22, 23 years old. I had, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to kick it, but then when I went in there, I was the youngest person in that place by far, by at least 10 years. And other people in that place had been in there, or had been in and out of rehabs for years, multiple times. That was my first time in. But I just decided I couldn't do that anymore. I didn't want to live like that.
If I may ask, you use methadone?
Yeah, I tried methadone, and I think that whole thing is bullshit as well. I mean, basically they get you off of one drug and addict you to another, and I did a radio interview yesterday about methadone, so forgive me if you already heard me say this, but basically they make you show up there. I mean, and again, this was 14, 15 years ago, but they make you show up there before 7 a.m., and no addict in their right mind wants to get up that early in the morning. Seriously, I mean, and they just don't. And so I got on that, and withdrawing from methadone is just as bad, if not worse, than withdrawing from heroin. So I think it's a terrible thing. And they won't let you just take it home, even though on Sundays the place was closed, and so they'd give you a dose of it to take home. And of course, any serious addict is going to try to shoot that up. It doesn't work, so I don't see why they wouldn't give it to you every day. You immediately realize that it takes about 5 syringes full of methadone to get it all into your arm. You try to time it so that it all goes in at the same time. Still doesn't get you high. So I don't see why they wouldn't let you take it home. I just don't think that program works. There was people in there when I was on methadone that had been there for 15 years that were still doing it, and it's just another addiction. I guess you're not pawning everything to get it, though.
Do you still live in Atlanta?
No.
Where do you live now?
Nashville.
Do you think that moving was a large part of the process of letting it go?
Well, I didn't move to Nashville when I got clean. I just moved to Nashville last year.
Nashville's a great place.
What?
Nashville's a great place.
Yeah, I like Nashville.
decide that you got it right, what are you looking for? Since you're not necessarily making sure you got it exactly how it happened. What are you asking yourself as a writer that you capture in the story?
Okay, first part, the term future-proof. Yeah, I thought I came up with that. But I didn't. It was all over the internet when I actually looked it up after I'd come up with, settled on that name. It's used for businesses trying to future-proof themselves against technology moving forward and them being left behind or whatever. But no, I thought it was a perfect title when I first thought of it. And then this band Massive Attack came out with a song called Futureproof, and I was like, they fucking took that from me. I'm going to sue them and everything. During a manic phase, but yeah, I think the title is perfect for it. I'm glad I settled on that, and it's really hard coming up with titles for things. And then what was the second part?
When the process as you're writing, and you decide, okay, I've got it how I want it. What is it? Are you listening to how it sounds when you read it back, or just you're capturing the?
Oh yeah, and you said how it happens. Well, these books aren't memoirs, and so even though, of course, they jump off from real-life points, I think that it is a major mistake of any aspiring author to, a memoirist or novelist writing from real-life experiences, to try to write something exactly the way it happened. I've heard of agents turning stuff down, saying this is really unrealistic, and then the author will come back saying, well, that's how it happened. That doesn't matter. What matters is how it sounds and comes across as far as a narrative and plot line, for me to a lesser extent plot line. But in the end, regardless of how much real life you're trying to portray, what matters is the story and how it sounds. I'll read my stuff aloud over and over and over again until I guess it just has to be abandoned. You can't do anything else with it. So. Oh, sorry.
What's the opposite of future-proof?
Let's see. That's a good question. Well, future-proof, as I intended it to mean for the title of this book, just means that you're not affected by the possibility of a future. So, I'm not a fucking thesaurus.
So the opposite may mean that you have a future?
Yeah, that you actually are concerned with it. Yeah, definitely. Sure, futureful. That's the next book. Well, of course, yeah.
What is that? I mean, I haven't read your book at Scott tonight, but do you see any similarities between these two?
Oh, no question. Jim Carroll is a hero of mine. I would say, and I don't think there's anything new written. I think there's just slight differences in the actual events that are portrayed. So, Basketball Diaries was definitely on my mind when I was writing this book. What I tried to do with my book that was different from Basketball Diaries was that I didn't want it to just be a book about doing drugs. And I know Jim Carroll includes things about his mother, for instance, in that book, and that kind of thing that I guess tries to set up the scene that leads to that. But I wanted to get further into that as far as the mindset of a person that gets into that kind of frame of mind, to allow them to stick needles in their arms. Just do all this kind of thing that, look, I used to be a heroin addict, and I remember when I was a kid, I could not imagine anyone doing acid or cocaine or anything like that. I mean, acid for me was scary just based on the fact that it was called acid. Really? Or are you going to willingly take that into your body? But, no, Jim Carroll is a hero to me, and I definitely think there's a debt owed to him for any kind of book written from the time that book came out till, far into the future.
Did you intend it in any way as a cautionary tale, or do you just really wanted to write down the story that you succeeded.
No, I appreciate that. I think that if you write this kind of book, it's automatically a cautionary tale. If you can read this book and think, I want to go do that, there's something fucked up about
I
you.
did. I remember reading William Barber when I was a kid and thinking, wow, it's cool. But of course it isn't. But I remember listening to Lou Reed in the Velvet Underground. There is a certain romanticism to it.
Yeah, no question. And again, you can't write that kind of thing without it seeming romantic because, and I think Irvin Welsh said this. If there wasn't some kind of greatness to it, why the fuck would we do it? It feels good. But and he did the same. He said the same thing. He showed the downside of it, which is far more extreme than any upside, and the upside to it is incredibly extreme. Go ahead.
Sorry, I have another question about the writing process. I've been working on a book for like 3 years, trying crazily to get it noticed by publishers and all that. And I think that I sort of have a romanticized view about once that finally comes to fruition and you have an agent and a deal. Did your life change? Or is it like just life changing as exponentially as maybe in my romanticized head that it is when all this comes through and is said and done? Like, is your life a lot different now? With this team, with an agent and a publisher and a company behind you?
Yeah, I don't want to squash your dreams or anything, but no, my life is not because in my head it's like this massive life. Your life. No, and I was right there with you. I know exactly what you're talking about. I honestly can't respond to that because some really screwed up shit happened in my life right when that happened. I would say that it would be dramatically changed just because you work so hard for that. And for about a week, my life was dramatically changed. But then other things happened, and I was not focused on that at all. So in that way, it is really not been what I thought it was going to be. But I can't say that if this happened to you, that it wouldn't be different for you. Despite the fact that I'm published by a major publisher, this book came out. I have to do just as much as I had to do as far as publicity-wise to get people like you guys to know that this book exists. There's no difference at all in that respect. On Amazon, it's ranked higher than it ever has when it was a self-published book. I can say that. So.
You self-published it first.
Oh yeah. I self-published first, and then a bunch of people bought the book, and that's why Harper, I'm assuming, picked me up, because I got a bunch of people to buy the book.
Okay, that makes sense. That's what I needed to know. If you can self-publish, because there's such controversy about could you self-publish, then when a publisher retake it and read.
Fuck that. Yeah, self-publishing is the new wave, and anyone that says if you self-publish and you won't get even looked at by publishers is bullshit.
That's what I needed.
All right. No, all right. Go ahead.
I don't know when you started doing drugs, but I presume you were interested in literature before you started doing drugs, and so how did your literary interests change?
My literary interest never changed. I was always drawn, and this is what you were talking about, I was always drawn to that kind of dark side of things, just, I guess, naturally. Even though I didn't know anything about drugs, from personal experience, just the fact that world existed and there was this whole other kind of plane that someone could exist on was very appealing to me. And I can't say why that was the case, but it definitely was the case. But yeah, I mean, I've been reading since I was 3 years old. And so reading was always a huge part of my life. Writing was always a huge part of my life. And, when I got to about 13 or 14, this kind of stuff that was about this, other world that nobody knows about, except for, a select group of people, was very appealing to me.
Were you interested in Edgar Allan Poe at an early age, or when did you do that?
Yeah, I was very into Poe. Yeah, I'm not. I feel like I'm not answering what you're trying to ask me, but yeah, any kind of dark stuff appealed to me. I was never like a goth person or anything like that, but this dark side that was kind of overlooked. I just always felt like I was outside whatever was normal, and so those sorts of things appealed to me immensely.
So Poe's writings appealed to you before you ever had any
Of drugs, alcohol, anything, before I'd ever been fucked up in any way, shape, or form, yes.
But it appealed to the same part of your brain that the drugs appealed to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I felt like I related to those people. Or, Poe isn't, I guess to some degree, the stuff that he wrote was autobiographical, specifically his poetry, but just in general, that kind of dark side, anti-optimistic, I think it goes beyond pessimistic view of life I related to. I don't know if that's just ingrained in some people or something happened to me, whatever, but yeah, that appealed to me.
What about like Burroughs? Looks like that.
Yeah, that goes without saying. Burroughs was huge for me. And even William Burroughs Jr., I related more to him than I did to Burroughs. I mean, that guy was all fucked up by his father, and, his dad killed his mother. If anyone hasn't read anything by Burroughs Jr., you should read it. It's incredible, incredible stuff.
Did you read Burroughs Jr. before doing drugs?
No, I didn't hear about Burroughs Jr. I didn't know anything about him until after I was actually clean from drugs, but I actually related more to him than I did to Burroughs. And liked his stuff more, to be honest. Am I off the hook? Oh, I'm sorry.
You were writing the novel. What did you write each day, and how long did it take?
When I was writing this novel, I try to write all the time, but when I was writing Futureproof, I basically dedicated every spare minute to it. The manuscript was probably over 200,000 words by the time I had finished with it. In this book form now, it's about 90,000 words, so obviously I had to cut out a lot of it. It was about 105 to 110,000 whenever I self-published it. I spent every waking minute writing this book. I mean, that was what I considered my job. And I guess it paid off, right?
Was it cathartic in any way to write the book?
Yeah, it was definitely cathartic. I mean, there's some parts in that book that are almost verbatim what happened to me in real life, and I would just be, almost paralyzed by writing some of the parts of this, reliving some of it. Some of it I didn't think needed to be changed at all, and it was very hard to relive it. But I just felt like if I'm trying to be honest and true, which is always going to come through. Then you have to go through it. I think it's kind of like method acting. You have to really relive this stuff in order to be truthful about it, and that's going to come through for somebody reading it.
It does.
Thank you.
In light of the catharsis question, what do you think was like the most gratifying part of working on the novel? The self-publishing, the getting published, the work or just finding that point where you said, "Fucking it's done."
The most gratifying part was definitely being done with the novel. And I guess self-publishing what I considered the done version, which ended up being changed when it was published by Harper. But yeah, feeling like, okay, this is something I can present to the world and be at least semi-proud of, because I think whenever you're writing something and want to give it to the public, you can never be completely satisfied with it. I can open any page of this book right now and hate sentences, but what are you going to do? It's ink on paper, so that's it, which I take kind of pride in, because if you're ever really satisfied with what you've written, then you have nowhere to go but down from there. So. Thank you guys. Thanks for coming.